I want you to look me in the eye and swear to your higher being when you answer this question. Did you make a political deal to dismiss the charges against Mayor Adams?
Absolutely not.
Did anybody else that you witnessed make a political deal to dismiss the charges?
Absolutely not.
All right, that was Emil Bove, Trump's nominee to a lifetime federal judgeship, testifying last month about the Department of Justice's decision to drop corruption charges against the New York City mayor, Eric Adams. Now, as the Senate prepares to vote on Bove's nomination, as soon as tonight, the Washington Post is reporting that a whistleblower has come forward with evidence suggesting that Bove misled lawmakers during that testimony about his role in the Adams case. Separately, two other whistleblowers have said that Bove told DOJ subordinates that they may need to ignore court orders. Joining us now is Republican Senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy. You saw him on that clip because he sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He did vote last month to advance Bove's nomination. Senator Kennedy, thanks very much for being here. So I got to be straight with you. Did you believe what he said there? At all?
Yes, I did. The biggest charge against Bove, Mr. Bove, is that supposedly he was willing to advise his clients to defy a court order. He denies that, of course. I asked him about it in committee. I've said repeatedly in the Judiciary Committee in front of God and country that if you disagree with a federal judge's order, you don't have the right to ignore it. You can cuss it, you can discuss it, you can criticize it within the bounds of judicial and legal ethics. You can appeal it. But if your client tells you to ignore it, then you quit. That's what I was taught, and I think that's the law. And I have repeatedly examined Patel, Bondi, all of President Trump's nominees. So I asked Bove about it, and he said I didn't do it. The other point I'd make, I know we have a lot of whistleblowers, but let me see how I can put this case. If everyone is a racist, no one's a racist. If everyone's corrupt, no one's is corrupt. If my Democratic colleagues are going to trot out whistleblowers, 2 and 3 at a time, every time we have a nominee that they don't agree with, they sort of lose their efficacy. And that's the situation we're in right now.
Well, I mean, your Republican colleague, Senator Collins, said this, quote, Mr. Bove's political profile and some of the actions he's taken in his leadership roles at the Department of Justice caused me to conclude that he would not serve as an impartial jurist. Would you include Senator Collins in that group of people you were just talking about?
Well, look, Senator Collins is in a re-election campaign. And
fair enough.
Unless you're God's perfect idiot, you know that Maine is not, for example, Louisiana. I don't mean any disrespect to Susan. She's a wonderful person, but she's not going to vote for Bove under any circumstances. I get that. I understand.
Fair enough. All right. Let me ask you about something else, of course, at the forefront here. We were just talking about Jeffrey Epstein at some length. The president has in recent days shifted his story about why he decided not to be friends with Jeffrey Epstein anymore. Now talking about women who worked at the spa at Mar-a-Lago, who Jeffrey Epstein apparently hired, or the word the president used was stole. Does this raise any red flags to you?
Well, here's what I think about the Epstein mess. First, it's not a political issue. It's a moral issue. Epstein was a pig, P-I-G, pig. And this is no country for creepy old men. Epstein trafficked young women, some of whom were minors. The American people want to know, and they are entitled to know, who, if anyone, he trafficked these young women to besides himself. And if such people exist, why they weren't prosecuted. Now, that's the bottom line. And the Justice Department sooner or later is going to have to answer this. They haven't done a very good job so far. I think even the Justice Department would admit that, and they've lost a lot of credibility. So them saying, "Well, trust us, there was nobody else," the American people aren't going to believe that. Justice is going to have to show us the receipts. Now, how they do that, that's above my pay grade, but they're going to have to do it.
Are you confident that Donald Trump is not one of the people to whom, as you say there, these women were trafficked?
I don't believe he was. I think he knew Epstein many years ago. They were running buddies. I don't know the details of it, but my own personal opinion is that he's not involved. But it sure does, I don't know this for a fact, but it certainly does appear, or one could marshal a persuasive argument, I'll put it that way,
Sure.
that there's some very important people involved. And the American people are curious, and they're entitled to be curious. And justice can't just say, "Well, you've got to trust us." You know, they've dug up more snakes than they can kill by some of the things they've mishandled, and they've got to show the receipts.
I don't want to cut you off, but unfortunately, it is time for me to hand over to my colleague Jake Tapper. So thanks to you, and hi, Jake.
Tell Tapper to pay his taxes.